Thank you very much, Portia, for that welcome, and thank y'all very much for having me. I look very much forward to coming and speaking to y'all. One of the things I like most about being chief is getting out and being able to speak to people in the community. So I do have a presentation and some slides. I'm probably going to go through those kind of fast because I believe in talking with people a lot more than talking at them. And so I definitely want to leave some room at the end for some questions, anything that y'all want to talk about specifically. And I think last time we were together it was the Peace Pole, and I really appreciate that project that you spearheaded, and it still looks good outside of the police department. So thank y'all very much for being involved in the community. So, and I thought I was going to have a clicker, but I guess, oh yeah. So before I get started, the main thing I wanted to come and talk to you about is kind of the state of the department. Before I get started, I want to take a second and just give y'all an update on Sergeant Eisworth. So as many of y'all in the room know, last Monday, June 16th, he was brutally attacked just for wearing uniform. And I'm sorry if it touches me a little bit. Sergeant Eisworth did nothing to provoke this attack. He was just out serving the citizens of Baton Rouge. He's still, right now, in the hospital fighting for his life. So I appreciate y'all and y'all's continued prayers, y'all's support, not only for Sergeant Eisworth, Caleb, his family, but the entire Baton Rouge Police Department. Last week, it's a silver lining in tragedies like this. We really get to see the community coming together. We get to see the family that we call the department and the family that we call the Baton Rouge community. And last week was a testament to that. We held a jambalaya fundraiser in partnership with different sheriff's offices and the fire department and behind the line. And we were able to sell over 1,800, 2,000 plates of jambalaya within 30 minutes. And that was only limited because of the number of pots that we had. We had about 100 people show up to donate blood in his name. So it really was a good thing for the officers to be able to see the support from the community. Let's keep that going. Please, when you see our officers out there in line of duty and doing their work, all first responders, fire department, EMS, everybody, please take a second and thank them. Police work especially is a very thankless job, and it kind of goes unnoticed. So please go out of your way to wave, say hi, say thank you, because I'm telling you it goes a long, long, long way for my officers. So let's kind of get into it. What I want to kind of talk to y'all about is where we are right now with the Baton Rouge Police Department, where we are with recruiting, where we are with manpower, where we are with crime prevention, crime strategies on our prevention, and what everybody kind of wants to talk about is stats, right? Where we are, where are we looking inside the city of Baton Rouge? What you see on the screen kind of behind me is our last academy. We just graduated 7 new officers. 7 is a pretty low number for one of our academies, and we're going to kind of talk about the problems we've had with recruiting. But I'm telling you, it's 7 very qualified, very talented officers, and we're very glad to welcome them to our new family. We see just a nationwide shortage of people wanting to join the profession of law enforcement. Whether it's because of news that have happened elsewhere, the world has become a very small place where Baton Rouge police officers are judged by actions of officers 1,500 miles away. And so whether it's that or whether it's just generational gap, I have a brother-in-law that owns 2 restaurants here in Baton Rouge, and he tells me about just the problems of finding service industry personnel and keeping them for a while. So when you're looking at the profession of law enforcement and it being a 30-year career and a calling, we do have our struggles, but we see the pendulum starting to swing back. We saw the same kind of thing in the military back in the 60s where nobody wanted to join the military, and now they're having great success in getting their numbers up. And we think that pendulum is starting to swing back for law enforcement as well. We just need to make sure we are staged as Baton Rouge Police Department to accept those people when they're ready to become law enforcement professionals. So what graph, if you like numbers and you like graphs, a lot of business people in the room, what you see is the blue chart shows our academies going back to 2015, how many people started the academy. And in some of those, like 2015, there was 2 academies, so that's a total number. And then the yellow is how many people actually finished the academy. Definitely a downward trend that we have had. So we're constantly looking at ways to revamp ourselves, work on our branding, get people to want to join not only the career in law enforcement, but the Baton Rouge Police Department. And that's pretty staggering numbers. We've also seen, and as long as I'm chief, you have this promise, and I had the same stance when I was at the training academy, quality over quantity. We are not going to sacrifice quality. You know, if my parents, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they call 911, it's a Baton Rouge police officer that's showing up to help them. And so I want the best trained and most professional law enforcement officer to show up and do that. And so we are not going to sacrifice that quantity to get our numbers up for quality. So kind of a trend also, as you've seen, when I applied for the academy back 23 years ago, there was 400 people applying for a 40-man academy. We're about to start an academy in July with 18 officers, and we had about 45 people apply for that academy, right? And so the smaller numbers of people applying, smaller numbers starting the academy, and then also smaller people that are actually able to finish that academy. And so if you like charge, that's what that's about. Where are we at with manpower? Of course, with the recruiting problems, this is our current numbers in staffing. We are currently allotted 696 officers per the plan of government, and we are sitting at 540. So over 150 officers that we're short. This is everything from boots on the ground and patrol cars that you would see showing up for a call for service, to support personnel, to detectives that have to, on the back end, figure out everything from armed robbery and burglary and homicide cases. So we're short across the board, and it's been a very sharp decrease over the years. We are constantly looking ways to not only recruit, but retain those quality officers that we have. And we're open to any suggestions that we have out there, and we need y'all's help and support in that. The biggest problems we have is manpower, right? What is the biggest contributing factor? I talked about kind of the generational thing and the pendulum, but the other thing is money, right? A lot of y'all are business people in here, and y'all know that money talks. And when we're set up at a recruiting event and we have a bunch of other departments next to us at tables, and they're putting up their starting pay next to our starting pay, it's hard to compete with that. What we see is some of our neighboring jurisdictions make a lot more, $15,000 up to $15,000 more than us, then we're having to compete for that same pool of people to come work for the Baton Rouge Police Department. Another growing trend is Texas. You can see Houston just gave their starting officers a pay raise to $81,600. My sister lives outside of Houston in Humble, going to visit her this weekend. I know that the cost of living there for her is about equal to us in Baton Rouge. So somebody here in Baton Rouge, young person graduating college, is looking to make that decision. Hey, I know my family's here, but that's only a 4-hour drive. Maybe I'll go work for a department in like Houston. And it's like that around in Texas. Those departments are paying their officers more and more and more. And I'm very thankful for our mayor's administration. They're working hand in hand with us to try to rectify some of this and get our officers the pay that they deserve. Very thankful for the work that they're doing and working hand in hand with us. Despite the money, right? You'd be surprised, I just said we have 18 people starting in the academy, and we're actually stealing about 4 to 6 officers from other departments for a lateral academy on top of that come July. How are we able to do that when we're just looking at the money? It's because Baton Rouge Police Department is one of the best police departments in the entire country, by far. Any measurable standard that you want to say, Baton Rouge Police Department is by far one of the greatest. I've been around the country. My experience with Training Academy and SWAT, I've taught classes at other departments. I've been places to get classes taught to me, and I am telling you, y'all should be proud of the department y'all have here in Baton Rouge. We are one of the very few departments in the entire state that's CALEA accredited. CALEA is the gold standard for police accreditation. They come yearly to look at our policies and how we do business. We have our officers. Our officers are the backbone of this city. They do great things. Everything you see pictures up on the screen, everything from delivering babies on the side of the road to talking suicidal people that are having a mental breakdown off the bridge and saving them off the bridge. We're on the cutting edge of technology. We're one of the first departments in the area to have body-worn cameras. Now we're one of the first departments we have departments all over the country coming to look at our real-time crime center. And we have drone program that is on the cutting edge, where we have actually uniformed officers that are using drones on a weekly basis to put them up in the air at night with FLIR capabilities to find bad guys that ran from scenes. So that is the kind of things that we are still doing to attract people to come to us despite that pay. And we are having some good results in that. The other thing is, I'm a sports guy and I like sports analogy. We're kind of like the big leagues, right? You can work 2 or 3 years with the Baton Rouge Police Department. It's about 10 years experience compared to other places. So we're looking for those people that want to serve their community and want that kind of cutting edge technology experience and be part of the solution. Because of the manpower shortages, of course, our officers are having to do more with less. And I am so proud of the work that they're doing, right? You would think, all right, you're over 150 officers short, then you must, have a problem. We're still answering more calls. When I was working 1st District dog shift, I was on a squad with 13 people. That same squad now has 7 guys on it, 7 men and women. They're doing more with less people. We're asking more of them. We're asking more involvement in the community. We're asking them more to be interactive, and they're answering more calls. So the men and women of the Baton Rouge Police Department are stepping up and handling business and doing it in a professional and courteous way that I demand. And we're doing that in all kind of ways. You see on the screen our drones. We're doing it through programs that we've installed, officer readiness, reorganizing the organizational chart. Every officer on the department, regardless of where they're assigned, including me, down to my command staff, take turns riding in the streets of Baton Rouge. I look forward to my Friday nights once a month where I go out and I just go and answer calls and back up the officers. I think it's very important not only to keep our finger on the pulse of the officers, but also the community and what's going on there. And it's also just a good way to boast some numbers. Our real-time crime center, which I talked about earlier, is kind of the jewel. We have people come and look at it all the time. We use that real intelligence in our weekly meetings, looking at our stats and our hot spots on where we purposely place our officers and our resources. A lot of times I go places and they say, Chief, it just seems like I see less officers in my neighborhood checking on speeding. Well, that's true, you do. We have 150 less officers, right? And so we need y'all's input as well. Let us know what you're seeing. Let us know where we need to divest our resources to help what's going on and what is affecting you individually. We also rely on a lot of our partnerships. We would be nowhere without our partnerships. We saw a dramatic increase, somewhere around 30% decrease in overdose deaths. That's because of our partnerships with people like Piers on Point, Tangela Miles, where every time we have an overdose death, we call that organization, they come out and give resources. People like the Bridge Center for Hope that officers are able to bring to Charlotte Claiborne and her crew over there and drop them off very quickly and then get back on the street when they're dealing with mental health crises and addiction. So all of those things are helping us still be very intentional and targeted on how we do work. Let me not move on before I also mention this. Our internal advisory board, something that I was very, very passionate about and created. I meet with them monthly. It's a group of officers, civilians, dispatchers, crime analysts, everybody on the department that was interested. Meet with them monthly just to see what's going on. I run policies by them, everything from uniforms to vehicle usage and things that are coming up, and I try to get back so I can find out what is still happening on the department. So stats. We're going to talk a little bit about stats, and let me preface this by saying I don't like talking about stats. I'm kind of a superstitious guy. Go back to like baseball. You don't talk about a perfect game while you're in the middle of a perfect game. You don't talk about until the game is over. But I know that the community likes stats. I know the media likes stats, right? So here's some good stats. We talked about how short our officers are, but they're still out there doing amazing work. Over 1,300 felony arrests, and this is up to the end of May. This is May 31st is what, for this year, is what these stats reflect. Almost 600 guns seized, 32 homicide arrests, and I kind of took out the juveniles. The reason I did that was because we are definitely having a trend. We're seeing a trend with our crimes being committed by juveniles getting younger, younger, and younger. Victims and suspects, juveniles, younger and younger and younger. We're having 14, 15, 16-year-olds that we're arresting for committing homicides. That's not shooting at somebody, but that's actually killing someone. And a lot of things have to fail a 15-year-old before they make that decision to pick up a gun and shoot someone, right? There's a lot of other systems that should be in place before we have to deal with them, whether it's the church, whether it's the family, whether it's the schools, other community organizations, recreation, whatever. And so it's very important for us to be a part of those organizations and bridge those gaps as well. But definitely an issue when it comes to the juveniles. And then we're up to about, like I said, we usually arrange over 200,000 calls for service, and at the end of May, we were at 86,000 calls for service. Kind of small, right? But in the big numbers. And again, I don't like talking about stats, and the only reason I do so is, one, because I know people want to hear about it, and two, to again brag on the men and women of the Baton Rouge Police Department. Over 150 officers short, but crime is down. Right now, let's look back at last year. We finished 2024 down 8.5% in crime compared to 2023. 2024, we were down compared to 2023. Now in 2025, compared to 2024, we're even further down. I know it does not feel that way. I know that every time you see on the news, it's like, oh, wow, another shooting in Baton Rouge. Oh, wow, this is happening. And perception is oftentimes reality. And even one homicide is one too many. But I do, like I said, I want to brag on the men and women of the Baton Rouge Police Department that they're doing a phenomenal job to show these kind of numbers where gun violence is down 18.5%. The number of shooting incidents is down 20%. Property crime down 20.5%, with vehicle burglaries and vehicle thefts in the 37 and 40 percentile being down. Those incredible numbers that not me, but the men and women of the Baton Rouge Police Department that I want y'all to please thank when y'all see them. How are we doing this? How are we getting to these numbers, and what kind of problems are we having? So, of course, as I said, we have very intelligence-led patrols. We have to be very intentional where we put our resources, because our resources are sparse right now. We're looking at redirecting grant overtime money so that we can put more boots on the ground. We know that statistics show if a police car is driving around the area, there's bound to be less crime. So we're looking at trying to boost numbers on the ground using grant overtime dollars. Using our cooperation with our HOAs, crime prevention districts, so that they can tap into we can tap into their crime cameras and license plate readers. Just this past year, we added over 250 of these capabilities with license plate readers and crime cameras. That is a force multiplier for us, where we can't have officer there, but we can have a camera or a license plate reader. It's a huge help. If you are part of an organization like this and you want to see our real-time crime center, please come see us. We have a Connect Blue program. If you're a business owner or even just your house, you can give us access to those cameras, or just let us know, I have cameras, and you'll go on our map so then our detectives can look. And if we had something that happened in our area, we'll contact you through email or phone and say, would you mind looking at your camera at this time and this date? And you can help us out. And we have links where you can send us that video and footage. Very easy. If you haven't seen our real-time crime center, please come look at it. It's an amazing thing. Other problems that we're having is delays in prosecution, low bonds, and repeat offenders. We've been very intentional. If you don't follow us on Facebook or you're not looking, we've been very intentional, especially as of late, to include criminal histories in the arrests that we make. And you can just see from right there that we're arresting the same people over and over and over again. I don't like to speak in general terms. I like very specific examples. So a couple of weeks ago, we had unfortunately, we had an officer-involved shooting where officers tried to stop a vehicle. When they tried to stop that vehicle, 3 armed suspects bailed out of the car. Officer very bravely, outgunned, chased one of the suspects, the driver of that vehicle. That driver fell to the ground, turned over, and pointed a mini Draco AK-47 style weapon at him. He was forced to fire and defend his life. That subject was out, had just finished probation a month earlier for armed robbery, had a bunch of cocaine in the car, and had multiple felony charges. He was out 2 or 3 days later on bond. That's the specific examples that I'm talking about that we need to look at correcting. So we're trying to work with the district attorney's office to get them as much information as possible, to work with the judges to keep these bonds up. Not everybody needs a high bond. Not everybody has to be in jail, but some people do. Some people need no bonds. So we're looking outside. We're looking at our federal partners. We're looking at some of these cases to go federal and trying to get them to prosecute on a federal level. We're looking at what they did in New Orleans with Troop NOLA, bringing in the Attorney General's office to relieve some of the burden and the caseload off of the local district attorney's office so that they can get quicker prosecution and hold people on higher bonds when it is necessary. With all that being said, we're still out there winning national competitions, and I can't brag on our officers enough. This is just a snippet, right? Our motor division, which you see featured right there, and Sergeant Eisworth is in that picture, 18-year member of the motor division. They are nationally recognized. They hosted a competition recently where they won multiple awards, including first place, and they are known nationally for the work they do. Same thing with our K-9 division. We hosted a national competition here in Baton Rouge last year, which attracted over 100 officers and their K-9 partners from all across the country to come to Baton Rouge, and then just recently competed in a regional competition where we took first, second, and third place in that competition. Our SWAT team, also, we help adjoining parishes and are very well known across the country. Our negotiators just competed in first of its kind competition and did very well and received awards in that competition as well. But our everyday officers are out there doing things that they don't get credit for. And as chief, I've tried to be more and more intentional about recognizing them, not just at a yearly banquet, but on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, putting them out on Facebook, putting them out into the community and letting them go things and tell their stories. We save about 100 people's lives a year through the use of Narcan and tourniquets and chest seals and CPR. And that does not get told enough. So we really do have the cream of the crop when it comes to officers. Another way we're looking to try to showcase our officers is a TV show called On Patrol Live. We're in talks with them right now, and it's actually on the agenda for the council tonight. It is a show that comes on Friday, Saturday nights. They follow about 9 or 10 departments around the country. It is not a show like Cops in the 90s. It is not a high-packed adrenaline thing. It is a show where they really try to focus on what it is to be a police officer and look at it holistically. I could talk 30 minutes just about it, but I think it would do amazing for the branding of our department to show the human aspects of the badge. The show would much rather show a traffic stop end in a warning and talk about where the best place to get a slice of pizza is than a vehicle pursuit. And that's what we need. We need to see people to see how amazing the Baton Rouge Police Department is, and also show a really good light on the city of Baton Rouge. They focus on festivals and officers walking around and interacting with the public downtown, and that's the kind of thing that the show would bring. So we're pushing for that, trying to get that through the council. I have to get their approval to do it, and we would have a lot of control over how that show is produced. When I make decisions, I know that in my where I'm at, every decision I make has a trickle-down effect. That's why I instituted the Internal Advisory Board. It has a trickle-down effect for the morale of officers, but also has a trickle-down effect just for community relationships. So things that we're trying to do, officer wellness is also always a huge thing. We're looking at physical, mental, financial, spiritual, the whole kind of aspect when it comes to officer wellness. We've got a contract right now with a physical trainer, a physical fitness coach that is down in our gym and at headquarters 3 days a week. So if officers want to lose weight or if they got a shoulder problem or knee problem, he gives them plans and advice and workout stuff. We have 2 officers that have been going for just a few months, and between those 2 officers, they've lost over 100 pounds just between the 2 of them. And that's the kind of, if they're physically fit, then they're not going to get injured and they're going to do a better service. But also, we're staying on top of the mental aspect. We made much improvement since 2016. Recently, we launched an app called the Cortico app that deals with officer wellness. They can get on there and take quizzes, and they can anonymously reach out to healthcare professionals all through this app to give them those resources. When we're looking at money, financial, of course, is a big strain, so trying to bring in some financial literacy courses for our officers as well. And again, just the recognitions go a long ways that we're trying to do. We have a lot of good things going on in the department right now. We were able to use some money from last year, some ARPA money, to start some construction projects. We are rebuilding our training academy. It's going to be on the 6th floor of our headquarters. It's going to be the state-of-the-art training academy. 3 huge classrooms. We're going to be able to bring in outside departments to come get classes from us, and we're going to be able to bring in outside trainers and get classes taught to us for free because of how outstanding this training academy is. We're also redoing 1st District on Plank Road so that those officers have a more state-of-the-art building to work out of, and they have some pride in where they work. And then we're building a brand new simunition scenario role-playing house out at our pistol range, which we'll also be able to rent out to other agencies to come and use, and it's going to be amazing. So I went through that really, really fast, and I'm going to open it up to some questions. But let me say this before I do. If you don't get a chance to ask a question, remember, and I shared this last time I was here, but on our Facebook page, on our webpage, brpd.com, lower right-hand corner, it says Chat with the Chief. You click on that, it'll go straight to Portia, and she will put you on my calendar, and you can come have a meeting with me. If it's just you by yourself, if you belong to another organization you want me to come talk to, get requests, everything from individuals coming to the office to going out to organizations like this and Kiwanis and churches and HOAs. So take advantage of that, lower right-hand corner of brpd.com, Chat with the Chief, and then you can get on my calendar very easily. Yes, ma'am.
Chief, Janet Simmons with Brett here. My question is, why can't you take some of the money that you have of the 150 non-employed police department or police officers and use that to up salaries of police officers?
So very good question. I was going to repeat it, but you're on the microphone, so very heard. It basically comes down to simple math where Officer Holton in the back, right? He's, like I said earlier, have 7 people in that squad. We have a couple people take off because they're sick, and now I have to pay Officer Holton to go work on that squad overtime. So my overtime has gone a lot more higher because we're still being asked to provide the same services, just with a lot less people. We're still being asked to go to the same parades and provide those services. We're still at the special events and provide the same level of call answering without a long wait time. And so when people are take off or we have to do these other things, it has to be with overtime money, and that's what's bringing up a lot of that. And then we also saw, last year to this year, we saw over a $9 million cut in our budget. Yes?
I want to I attended the Baton Rouge Citizens Academy.
Thank you very, very, very much.
And if you want to get to really know how good our department is, it's like an 8-week class.
Yes, ma'am.
Like once a week. And it was great. And this man right here.
Lieutenant McNeely.
Yes.
Gino.
He does a really, really good job with it. But I mean, we saw all kinds of stuff that we had no idea.
Yeah, I would encourage anybody, when we are able to put that on again, to please join that, the Citizens Academy. You get a behind the scenes, behind the curtain look at what's going on at the Baton Rouge Police Department. It's one class a week for about 8 weeks, and we give you a little bit of taste of everything, culminating in even scenario training.
Thank you very much for your energy. That was an outstanding presentation. Just to remind everybody, what is the effect of St. George on the Baton Rouge City Police Department?
So good question. So the formation of St. George didn't do anything to our services that we have to provide, right? St. George was already unincorporated and not part of the city of Baton Rouge. So we have to patrol the same area, answer the same amount of calls, everything like that with the formation of St. George. But what it did do was put a strain on the general budget, which is where my budget comes from. And that's where you see from last year to this year is a little over $9 million reduction in the Baton Rouge Police Department's budget. Okay. I'm sorry that, that's time. I know y'all are strict about 1 o'clock, but still, you find me afterwards. I'll stick around and chat with the chief on brpd.com. Thank y'all very, very much.